She used to live like she was always on trial, defending herself against crimes that existed only in her imagination. Every day felt like a courtroom in her own mind. She'd replay moments, analyze words, and prepare defenses for accusations no one was actually making. And slowly, it exhausted her, because how long can you keep fighting shadows? How long can you keep defending yourself from enemies that only live inside your head? But then something strange and something almost miraculous happened. The moment she stopped defending herself, people stopped attacking. Not because they suddenly changed, but because there was simply nothing left to attack. She had become like the sky, vast, open, untouched by the weather that moves through it. You see, most of what we call attack isn't really about us. It's just other people expressing their own confusion, their own fear, their own desperate need to feel right in a world that often makes no sense. When someone criticizes you, they're rarely talking about you. They're revealing something about themselves. The man who calls you lazy is probably afraid of his own stillness. The woman who accuses you of being selfish might be battling guilt for wanting something for herself. And the one who questions your choices, they're often just uncertain about their own. But when we take these projections personally, when we rush to defend ourselves, we get trapped in their confusion. We join the dance of mutual delusion, where both people forget they're just actors playing out roles in this strange human drama. So what would happen if you simply stopped dancing? What if you refused to play the game of attack and defense? Now, that doesn't mean you become indifferent or cold. It means you finally understand that true strength doesn't come from building walls. It comes from having no walls to maintain. Real security doesn't come from defending a position. It comes from realizing there's no position that needs defending. It's a paradox, isn't it? The more desperately we try to protect our image, our reputation, our sense of self, the more fragile we become. We're like someone trying to carry water in a basket. The tighter we hold, the faster it slips away. But the moment we stop grasping, something beautiful happens. When we stop worrying about how others see us, we begin to see ourselves clearly. We realize, we were already whole, already enough, already complete. The approval we chase, the validation we crave, the respect we demand, none of it can add anything to what we already are. There's an old story about a wise master who was falsely accused of fathering a child. The villagers were furious. They came to him, shouting, condemning, demanding answers. The master simply said, "Is that so?" And he took the child and raised it as his own. Years later, the truth came out. The real father was discovered. The same villagers returned, this time full of praise and apologies. Again, the master said, "Is that so?" And he gave the child back to its real parents. See what he did? He didn't defend himself when attacked, and he didn't inflate himself when praised. Not because he didn't care, but because he knew that what he truly was couldn't be touched by words, opinions, or the temporary storms of human emotion. And that's the real lesson here. When you stop defending yourself, you stop attacking others because you finally see there is no other to attack. The person who frustrates you, who challenges you, who seems to stand against you, is just another wave in the same ocean, another expression of the same life moving through us all. The mystics have always known this. They saw through the illusion of separation, the false belief that we're isolated beings fighting for our place. When you truly understand this, you can finally engage with life and without being at war with it. You can play your part in this human story, Malay, fully, passionately, beautifully, but without forgetting that it's all just a performance. You're an actor on stage. And when the lights go down, you know you were never the role you played. You might be wondering, but what about justice? What about standing up for myself? If I never defend myself, won't people walk all over me? Won't evil win? Good questions, and they matter, because what we're talking about here isn't passivity. It's not about letting the world do whatever it wants to you. It's about seeing the difference between reacting and responding, between protecting your ego and protecting what truly matters. When you stop defending yourself, you don't become weak. You become wise. You begin to act from clarity, not chaos, from calm understanding, not wounded pride. If someone spreads lies about you, you might still choose to correct them, but not because your ego needs to be right. You do it because truth serves the situation better than falsehood. If someone causes harm, you may still step in to stop them, but not out of rage or revenge. You act because compassion demands it. That's the difference between a warrior and a reactor. The warrior moves from stillness, from center, from connection to the whole. The reactor moves from fear, from separation, from a desperate need to protect an identity that was never really under threat. And here's the radical truth. Most of the things we think we need to defend ourselves against aren't even happening. They're happening in our imagination, in the stories we build inside our heads. We create entire dramas up there, where we are the victim and they are the villain. And then we exhaust ourselves, fighting these invisible battles. Meanwhile, the other person might not even be thinking about us. They might just be having a bad day, expressing their own confusion, or simply being human, flawed, messy, imperfect, like all of us. Even when someone really is criticizing you, even when their words sting and their intention is to hurt, your refusal to defend yourself doesn't make you weaker. It makes you untouchable. Think about it. If you throw a ball against a wall, it bounces back with force, but if you throw it into the open sky, it just disappears. That's what happens when you stop being while you become the space. Their attack has nowhere to land. It loses power. It dissolves into nothing. That's not weakness. That's the highest form of strength. The kind of strength that doesn't shout or fight. It simply is. It's the strength of the sky, never wounded by storms that pass through it. It's the strength of the ocean, never diminished by the waves that rise and fall upon its surface. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop defending yourself, you give others permission to stop attacking. When you no longer play the game of conflict, you create a space where real connection can happen. Genuine communication, true understanding. I once watched two friends argue, each one convinced they were right, each one talking louder, building higher walls, neither actually listening. It wasn't a conversation. It was two people waiting for their turn to reload. But imagine if one of them had said, I hear that you see things differently than I do. Help me understand your side. Just like that, the whole energy would shift, from enemies to fellow travelers, from a fight to a dialogue, from noise to understanding. That's the quiet power of non-defense. It turns war into conversation, conflict into curiosity. Because when you're not busy protecting your position, you have space to actually listen. And listening, real listening, changes people. Not just the one being heard, but the one doing the hearing. And yet, the deepest reason to stop defending yourself is nothing to do with strategy or relationships. It goes far deeper than that. Defense is built on a misunderstanding, a belief that you're something fragile that needs protection. But you're not. You're not an object that can be broken. You're the awareness in which everything happens. You're the quiet space that watches thoughts and emotions rise and fall, untouched by them all. When someone criticizes you, they're only interacting with a mental image of you, their own story about who they think you are. But that image, that story, it's not you. It's just a thought in someone else's mind. And thoughts have no power unless you give them meaning. The real you, the one who's been here through every change, every storm, every season of your life, then can't be threatened. It's beyond harm, beyond praise, beyond opinion, like space, vast, silent, untouched. This is what the sages meant when they spoke of the self with a capital S. Not the small self that clings to stories and memories, but the vast awareness that lies beneath it all, the consciousness that never changes. The small self is the character in the story. The capital S self is the screen on which the story is projected. No matter how wild the movie gets, the screen remains untouched. When you realize that this is what you truly are, the entire need to defend yourself just evaporates. Because how can you defend what was never in danger? We only feel the need to defend ourselves when we believe we are separate, when we think we are an isolated being trying to survive in a world that's out to get us, but that's an illusion, a trick of consciousness, a kind of divine game the universe plays with itself, forgetting its own unity so it can rediscover it again and again through us. In truth, there's only one self appearing as many. There's only one ocean, momentarily pretending to be waves. When you attack another, you're really attacking yourself. When someone attacks you, they're unknowingly striking their own reflection. That's why defense, in the deepest sense, is pointless. It's like your right hand trying to protect itself from your left hand. It's like one wave trying to shield itself from another, forgetting they're both made of the same water. When this understanding really dawns, everything shifts. You begin to see life not as a battlefield, but as a dance, not as a test of survival, but as a play of consciousness. And suddenly, defense becomes not only unnecessary, it becomes impossible. Because who would you defend against if everyone you meet is just another version of yourself? How do you protect the ocean from the ocean? You can't. You can only flow with it. This is the great paradox of spiritual wisdom. The way to become invulnerable is to stop trying to protect yourself. The way to become strong is to stop resisting. The way to find true freedom is to stop defending anything at all, and this doesn't make you a dormant. It makes you like water, soft, yet unstoppable. It makes you like space, open, yet unbreakable. Water yields to everything, but wears down the hardest stone. Space allows everything, but is never harmed by anything. That's the power of stillness, the power of presence, the power of not needing to win. When you live like this, when you move through the world without constantly defending, justifying, or explaining yourself, people feel it. They sense that peace in you. It's magnetic. You stop being someone they can fight against because you're no longer playing the same game. You're no longer feeding the energy of conflict. There's a stillness about you, a quiet confidence, peace that doesn't need to prove itself, and that peace draws people in the same way flowers turn toward sunlight. You become a sanctuary, a safe space for others to rest, because when they're around you, they can finally lay down their own armor too. They stop needing to defend themselves. They stop needing to prove, to argue, to win, because your presence reminds them they were never in danger either. That's the gift you give to the world. When you stop defending yourself, you show people what it looks like to live without armor, to move through life with an open heart, to be strong without being hard, to be kind without being weak, to be free, deeply, quietly free. And isn't that what we all want deep down? To be accepted, to be seen, to be loved, not for our achievements or appearances, but simply for what we are beneath all the layers? When you stop defending yourself, you finally give yourself that love. You stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to rest. You stop needing anyone's validation to feel whole, because you finally see that you already are whole. You've always been. You don't have to win the argument. You don't have to change their mind. You don't have to be understood. You just have to be, that's it. And from that place, that calm, silent awareness, you can finally live fully. You can speak your truth without fear, from love without needing approval, stand firm without needing to fight. That's not weakness, that's power, real power, the kind that doesn't depend on who agrees or who applauds. It's the power that comes from knowing who you are beyond every label, every role, every story. So the next time someone criticizes you, the next time you feel that familiar surge, that instinct to explain, to justify, to defend, pause. Take a breath. Remember this: you are not what they think of you. You are not even what you think of you. You are the awareness in which those thoughts appear, the quiet space where all words, judgments, and opinions come and go, like clouds passing through an endless sky. Be that sky. Let the weather of human drama move through you, without trying to control the storm. Because when you stop trying to control how others see you, you finally start to see yourself clearly. Not the roles you play, not the image you maintain, but the awareness behind it all, the timeless stillness that's been with you since the very beginning. This is what true freedom feels like, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be what you are, without apology, without defense, without fear. Think about it. How much of our energy is spent trying to be understood, trying to make sure others see us the right way? We adjust, we explain. We perform, all in the hope that someone will say, "Ah, now I get you." But you don't need to be understood to be at peace. You just need to understand yourself. Because when you rest in that deeper knowing that you are already whole, already enough, The rest simply doesn't matter. You stop seeking approval. You stop chasing validation. You stop making your happiness depend on someone else's perception of you. And that's when real peace begins. Not the kind of peace that's loud and triumphant, but the quiet kind. The kind that sits deep in your chest and whispers, I'm okay. No matter what happens, you see, every time you defend yourself, you're reinforcing the idea that there's something wrong with you, something that needs to be defended. But when you stop, you begin to see that there was never anything wrong to begin with. You were never broken. You were never less than whole. You were just caught in a story that said you had to prove your worth. Now that story is ending, and in its place, something new begins, a quieter, truer way of living. When someone attacks, you don't have to respond with force. You can respond with understanding. When someone misunderstands, you don't have to explain your existence. You can simply smile, knowing that the truth doesn't need defending, because the truth, like the sky, remains untouched, no matter what clouds pass through it. And when you live this way, something beautiful happens around you. The people in your life begin to soften too. They feel safer in your presence. They start to drop their own armor. And suddenly, you're not just peaceful, you're radiating peace. You become the reminder that it's possible to live differently, to live without the constant noise of defense and comparison. Live without needing to win or prove or control. You become proof that life can be simple again, honest, free, and deeply alive. That's the kind of power the world needs now. Not the power that dominates, but the power that liberates, the power that says, I don't need to be above you or below you, I can just stand here, as I am, whole and complete. And maybe when someone else sees that in you, they'll remember it in themselves too. Because peace is contagious. Stillness spreads. One heart at rest reminds another that rest is possible. So if you want to change the world, start here by no longer defending yourself, by no longer needing to fight every storm that passes through your sky. Stand like the ocean, deep and still. Move like water, soft, yet unstoppable. Live like space and allowing everything, harmed by nothing. And the next time life challenges you, the next time someone misunderstands you, criticizes you, questions your choices, smile gently to yourself. And remember, you are not their story. You are not even your story. You are the awareness behind it all, the quiet witness of the play. And that awareness cannot be touched, cannot be hurt, cannot be diminished. That's the secret the wise have always known. That's the peace you've been searching for all along. So rest in that, be that, and let the world move through you like passing weather, while you remain vast and open, like the endless sky. That's the kind of strength that nothing and no one can ever take away.